Now remember, when you're working on this light area, it's very easy to get caught up in the details, and you want to constantly step back. I didn't step back during this break, but I noticed, I say to myself, Matt, don't get caught up in this like little detail stuff. Remember the big picture, ticket items, front plane, side plane. And all this detail that I'm doing is sitting on a front plane. Now, I said that I was going to kind of get into this with a little bit of pencil, so let's get into it with a little bit of pencil. And I think what I'm going to do is drop this slightly. And let's turn this a little bit as well. This is the area that I'm not too sure about. Really got to kind of really look at that a lot today. And the bottom of the breast is darker than this, because this is just catching a little bit of light from the light that is hitting my drawing pad. Just like a little bit of ambient light. I do feel pretty good today with my hand, and the reason why I say that, because I'm working with barely putting any pressure down on my pencil, and it seems to like not be fighting me. Like I'm not a heavy-handed monster today, and that's like a good thing. Now let's just push down a little bit more. Let's start to like darken one or two areas, and I'm thinking about now modeling factors. So I'm committed right now, and I'm committed to doing the soft tonal thing. And I just got to watch out, like when I do these modeling factors in here with this soft tone, that I look and think about the values and my value scale, because it's very easy to start getting black when you come on in here and you do all this little stuff. But it's lots of subtle tones, especially working with a white cast. So I'm just putting in a little bit. I'm thinking of the modeling factors right now. I'm thinking about the dark halftone. I'm not going black with it. And I'm kind of almost going with the lay of the land. So I'm going to go over this a few times in this kind of way. And that's not bad. So now I see like more of like a tone that kind of feathers out from the center of the breast and goes to the side. So I'm measuring from here to here. I don't want to pull this. I don't want to make this breast like humongous. I want it to stay, because the distance from here to here is looking kind of big right now. So I've got to be careful that I keep my proportions and I don't start to go crazy with the breast size. And maybe what I can do is, now that I'm looking at this, I can pull this out ever so slightly. So come into the light. Most of my measurements I'm kind of committed to. I'll fix as I go. But right now, remember, this chapter is called Refine. So I'm starting to refine certain things, and we already did the section of the compartments. That was when we did all of the angles, all of our measuring. Most of that stuff is out of the way. And of course you're going to refine it, your measurements as well, but you want to get the bulk of that out of the way early on, so you're not making major alterations when you're refining. You want to make minor alterations when you're refining your drawing and rendering it. When I think of titles for all these like compartments, I'm always using the thesaurus, trying to find like different words for things, not so mundane with the titles. And this is a compartment for your shadow, and this is a compartment for your light. And you are going in and you are totally like refining the details and tweaking. I didn't want to call it tweaking, that sounds too funny. But you are tweaking, and tweaking is the same as refining. So it just depends on how far you want to take it. So now I see a little light over here. That's my dark halftone. I'm going very light. I'm trying to put in a big wide band of a light halftone on that breast, but I'm still trying to think of that I got to keep my lights light. I'm just doing a little bit of a side plane. Now I'm going with the lay of the land. I think what I'm going to work on next is this area. It's just so far away from me, and I hesitate working on that area because I don't want to get my head into the camera too much. This has got to turn just a little bit more. So all of this, what you're doing here is you're looking at all these beautiful little light tones in the light, and you don't want to keep this pure emptiness totally. You should put like some stuff in there, because then it almost looks like a photo that is, gosh, underexposed or overexposed. I confuse those two all the time. But it just looks like a photo that was blown out. The lights are all blown out and you don't see any detail. That's the beauty of doing a life drawing versus doing a drawing from a photo, is if you're working from a photo and the lights are all blown out and you don't see any detail over here, well, you can see detail with your eyes. I mean, you can put that all in there, and you just got to keep telling yourself, keep the lights light, keep the darks dark, work the whole drawing at once, don't get stuck, don't get tunnel vision. So now it's starting to get a little bit more dimensional in the light, putting some of these like little subtleties in that I really think are cool. The texture is really going to be the fun part, and I think I'm just going to knock this down just a tad so we keep the integrity of our shadow. I think my hand is smudging this ever so slightly each time that I work on this. And at the same time, I'm doing a dark halftone. So you're just building up. This turns under. Just building up the pencil, whether you're working with graphite or color pencils, you're building it up. You're creating these beautiful layers. And the viewer's eye can look through the layers. It's just really pretty to look at. Now I can go on forever with this drawing, and someone had mentioned to me that they were watching a DVD and they said something like, you know, we saw it a little bit in the beginning, we saw it a little bit at the end, and at the end the artist just kind of showed us the finished product, and we were like left standing there like, well, how did he get from point A to point B? So I'm trying to find a happy medium. This is like really difficult for me. These decisions, how much of this to show you, how much of this is interesting to you. I don't know how much of this is really truly interesting to you to watch me render this. I mean, I tend to be a maniac with learning, and I want to see it all. And I've mentioned this probably on disc 2. I told you guys that I'm some of the educational things that I'll watch them over 5 times until like I get it. And I watch them over 5 times, and then like I really implement. So I don't know how many people do that. You know, I know quite a few of you do, but not everybody. So trying to find like a happy medium as to how much information I put on this. I think what I'm going to start to do next is I'll work this section next, and then after that we'll get into this fabric. But I like the way the torso is coming out. I'm going to probably step away from it. My least favorite area is right here. It's just because this is just not doing it for me. I got to figure out what's wrong there that I don't really like.